Okay guys, I want to go over the Profile Creator real quick. The Profile Creator was just an awesome addition to the system because here's the thing. People used to try to fill out these paths on their own and they'd always, well, always, very many people would screw them up because they're not really familiar with FTP paths. I've seen everything. I've seen people try to put a website in here and not know that they need a project folder after it, even though, it's something we go over and explain. You need a project folder. I've seen people put it in here and they'll do something like stick the public underscore HTML in the domain name. And of course, that's a mistake. All right. Because that's not the way you would go to the root of the website and then the project folder. You would not have this part in there, right? I've seen people forget to put it in here because it's not there on the MOWG samples version that you get because this is not the real FTP access. It's a sub access that already goes into the public HTML folder. But you would need this, right? I've seen people do this and forget that rather. And then I see people who put stuff on an add-on domain, addon.com or .net or .biz or .org or whatever, and they would not quite understand. They either didn't get that they need the add-on folder because you need an add-on folder, or they think that somehow it should be here. And I've seen people even do this, and they have it like that way, addon.com/public HTML/addon, and that would be a mistake. Some don't even know that they're supposed to have this on there, right? And what else? And oh, I've also seen this one /ABC123. But they'll think that they're still supposed to have another public underscore HTML in here. Okay, so I've seen all kinds of combinations, and it's always been troublesome trying to teach people how to create these things correctly. It's a lot of work explaining how to create them correctly, right? People know what their add-on domain is, but they really don't know what they're supposed to use for this or that for add-ons. People know what subdomains are, like ABC123 dot add or dot, and that would be the primary. Let's just go back to the like primary.com, .net, .biz, whatever. But they would think that they still need to put this at the end. No, it either goes in the beginning or in the end, not both. So what is the purpose of the profile creator? The profile creator, the biggest purpose is to keep all those possible mistakes from happening. All the mistakes with this, all the mistakes with that, all the mistakes with that, all the mistakes with that, even forgetting to do it here, okay, because you notice how you need some of these things twice in a way, okay. Um, and then if you wanted to control this for them, some people think they have to put 20 so that 10 produce 200. Some people think they have to put 2,000 because they forget that it's 10 profiles, just everything like that. So I said we need to create and then maybe if you're doing many runs, you want to save them to a different runs folder. In other words, what if I want to make all of this stuff editable, any of this stuff editable inside this profile any way I wish? Well, the first thing is make sure you do not encrypt the password. If you encrypt the password on your original, the one that you set up correctly, and again, this is not at all correct. This is all messed up. Okay, it could be the wrong FTP everything. It could be the wrong everything else. All right, do not encrypt the password or this is not possible. You need to turn that off for the profile you want to use. If it is on, just turn it off and save it, okay? And that way now you can do this. Profile creator. Let me go over what the point of the profile creator is. You'll get the idea. Okay, in the HB, full stack here, here's the thing that we did. And if I just start by looking at a finished version, I might look at one that already exists. Here's a profile that's perfect. I'm saying it's perfect. Okay, let me open it with Notepad. Now, what do we know? The things that we were thinking about, we can kind of find on here. As a matter of fact, it's easier if we just open it this way. And I'm just thinking out loud because how do you teach this stuff? Nobody taught me. I got to figure out how to teach you. Okay, here we go. Base HTML file path. That should be pretty clear. That's for the HTML file you need, and it's called base HTML file path. Here's a vars file path, and that's for the CSV file you need, right? Target root folder is where you're saving these runs on your computer locally before they get uploaded. Domain name is domain name, right? Output file extension is whatever you want the extension to be. You can change this to anything except for .txt. It's a technical hurdle. The one thing you cannot do is make it .txt. Okay, file count is file count. And then we have stuff like the checkbox, upload to FTP server, true or false. True, false, right? True or false. Okay, and then if it's true, then, and whether it's true or false, this information is still going to be stored on the profile, right? Whatever it is you had for your FTP, whatever it is you have for your username and password. And then this is true or false. Encrypting the password is true or false, right? What else do you have? And I'm showing this to you for a reason, so kind of keep it in mind. You have the entire URL breakdown, and remember, this will always show old stuff. When you look and say, uh-oh, this stuff is old, I thought I updated the CSV file. When I hit refresh, it still shows the old stuff. Yes, it always shows the original stuff it ever saw for these vars the first time around. It doesn't matter, because even though you see that, when you hit process, it will use the information on your CSV file for the runs, not what it sees here. Okay, so it doesn't matter at all. It's just caching values to kind of give you a clue what was there at var 146, 147, 150 originally. It's just letting you know what the vars are and giving you an example of the verbiage. And that was always useful for figuring out how to build these things to look sensible and act sensible, sensible URL structures. Okay, and then all this stuff is cached in the profile, whether it auto uploads those related FTP files or not. The auto upload for the related files on the FTP tab if there's something there or not. And then obviously this stuff too. So we know we have our destination FTP URL. We have things to consider in there. We have username is twice, password is twice because it's on this tab, as well as this tab. See, username and password, same here. Username and password, okay? We have stuff about the FTP root folder path, and that does not have to be quite the same as what you have here. It doesn't have to be the same at all. This could upload to a different website if you wanted for some reason, if you knew why you would do that, and I don't. But this is still FTP information where a lot of it will match, right? A lot of this is going to match this anyway, okay? Now, all this stuff can be, we can create an original one that's right, and this one is all wrong, but we can create an original that's right, and then we can make it plug and play. So let me just show you what I mean. First, let me identify one that actually looks good. That one does not. Let me go to another one. Open with Notepad. Oh, whoops. Just let me open it first and make sure it looks good. HB no geo. Okay. And I've just been kind of playing with the files. I'm coming out with a new version of this real soon. Okay, and so it's got a correct idea. This is just for a project run, not a subdomain run. It's just HB no geo. It's not subs, but it's just domain, project folder. There's no add-on involved here. No add-on domain. So the FTP path is right. In most cases, it's going to be public underscore HTML and then the project folder. And then you see the FTP user and the FTP pass. In your case, it's just going to look like this. The username will just be something simple like that, right? And then the pass. So the normal way that this would look would be more like this. Public underscore HTML, ABC123 to correspond with this. That's a match. The username would just be that. The password would be whatever the real password is at that level. The top level. It's the login information to your HostMonster account. This is the username you log into your HostMonster account with. This is the password you log into your HostMonster account with, right? And that's how that works, right? And it uses our affiliate link idea. Just for those who don't know, if you want to get what we call the best recommendation and the one that works with those files, the Profile Creator, go to the main page of MOWG-crew.com. Go to the resources page, right here, MOWG resources page, okay, and hit get website hosting here. It costs the same to come through our link that it does just to go to HostMonster, but if you come through our link, it seems that HostMonster is aware of us because we don't get throttled. 5 years running now, we don't get throttled. The people coming through this link, they just seem to know what's going on. So you can get your domain name, get your account here. It costs the same whether you come through us or around us. But if you come through us, you just heighten the chances you don't get throttled. Some guys say, well, you don't get throttled on HostGator or Bluehost then because they're cheaper, but they're the same. The answer is no, that's not true. We have problems all the time from people on HostGator getting throttled, Bluehost getting throttled, and wondering why. Then they finally give up and go and spend more money to get the right kind of a hosting account. And that's why I'm just beating this like a dead horse now and saying, don't screw it up or you're going to come back and buy it later anyway, most likely. Okay, so it's just something good to know. All right, now that I said all that, what I mean is all these rules are going to work the right way because we know how host monster accounts work. We know what they're like. We know what to put in all these things for your host monster accounts. Okay, and we know what we're doing. So keep in mind that all these things are here, however often they are. The password is used twice. The username is used twice. Elements of the path are used more than once, right? Because they're in different places. Okay. And so once you get it set up right, okay, then, and make sure it is not encrypting the password. If it encrypts the password, this isn't going to work, okay? But now you can make variations on it. So just get it the way you want, and you can make variations on it. How do you make variations on it? First, let's study it. Let's right-click, open with Notepad, because here's the point. Now it's just a Notepad text. If we do not encrypt the password, we can dabble with it in Notepad and change anything we want in Notepad. And as long as we don't break anything, like break the tags, I could turn 200 into 20 or 2000, and I can save it, and it will actually save that thing. If I open this now, okay, it is now 2000. I could deselect upload to FTP server. Okay, watch this. I can open with Notepad, and that's what I mean. If you read through this, you'll get it. So let's just take a quick look. This is just opening stuff saying how it works, and it opens a profile thing, and then it's got stuff you recognize, the base HTML file path, and there it is in between the tags. It's the base HTML file. Then it says, what's the domain name? So it closes out the base HTML file path and starts the domain name for the domain name tab, and that's what you think. MOWGsamples.com/ABC123, because that's what we have in that domain name field. Then it closes that out. Now it starts the file count, which you just saw me adjust, and let me turn it back. And then it closes that out. Output file extension. See what I mean? It's readable. .html. That's what we want in this case. Good. Target root folder, that's the one on your computer. You can recognize it. That's the one that we decided we wanted it to be. Can I change any of this information in here? Yeah, as long as I'm changing it in a sensible way, because something exists. I can't just say moginogeo.html and make it or model node geo and make it model node geo 1 unless there is a model node geo 1. I mean, I can change it, but then I have to go create my model node geo 1.html. But I can change anything else. I can change the file count. I can change the output file extension. I can change the target root folder that this goes to, the unique file path, and it should be the way it is, unless you're more advanced and you know what you're doing. The var file path for the CSV file, that's called the var sheet. We call it the var sheet, and so here it is. It's the one. And then whether it uploads to the server or not, either true with a capital T or false with a capital F. That literally turns that checkbox on or off. Okay. Then it gets into like the keywords folder, and it's where you're saving your keywords. Again, all of this could be edited right here, and it would work. It would not break the profile to make changes here. FTP Form URL. That's for FTP Form means that FTP tab. This is the FTP form right here. So when I have a profile loaded, right, I'm just loaded again. You can't open it more than once. It works. There's the FTP form, okay? And what did I have for FTP form? Okay, that's just the URL. It doesn't have anything for the source folder, so it just self-closes until I put something in there for the source folder or check the box for a single file, like a zip file. Okay, and then and like a zip file, yeah, for those who hadn't thought about it, that's what we're doing now with the HB. And so now here is the FTP form URL, mowgsamples.com slash whatever it is. It's right there. And then comes the username, right below it. And that's right there. And the whole thing about the password, right? And so anyway, there's two spots for this because it's got two spots in every case. There's the FTP password down here, but it's also up here for the regular form. Here's the FTP form username for logging in, and it's also somewhere else. There's two instances of it. So when you do replacements, you want to edit replace all to make sure you get all the cases, right? So how do you make changes to something like this in a cool way for the profile creator? And let me just show you the profile creator so you understand the other half of this. I'm bringing two halves together for you, okay? All right, let me open one of these, okay? Now, if you go to run your profile creator, if you go to run it, by the way, just for the people who've had errors with this, okay, this should work on Excel 2007 or 2010. I believe it'll work on 2003, but if it doesn't, we're not going to backwards engineer it that far back. That's just, 2003 is 10 years ago now. We're not going to make it backwards compatible, but at least it works on 2007 and 2010 just fine. Excel 2007 and 2010. But some guys get an error where they get a pop-up that says enable editing. Yes, you need to enable editing. That way you can actually do this, okay, and hit that thing. Some people get a pop-up says enable macros. Yes, you got to hit that to enable this. That is a macro, okay, and so you need to enable the macro. If you get a trust center settings, and it's a hyperlink. If it says enable macros, and then if you want to change it permanently, hit trust center. You can go in there and fix that. So if you click it, it'll take you where? It'll take you here, Trust Center. And the Trust Center settings is right here. And what you should do is go to macro settings and yes, hit enable all macros, even though it says not recommended, potentially dangerous code can run. In years, I've never seen that happen to us or anyone else. All right, and trust access to the VBA project model. So it's up to you to make this decision to do it, but whatever, there's like, I don't know, a couple of thousand guys anyway using MOWG who do, just so you know, okay? It's up to you whether you want to do it. But if you trust access and you enable all macros, you hit OK and hit OK, then it probably will not ask you anymore if you want to enable anything for this to run. It's up to you. Okay. Now, let me continue. What did I do with this? Because that's what you're seeing here, right? This intentionally is going to work with that. Okay, so how did I doctor it? I'll show you. If I open it with Notepad, okay, let's take a look at something interesting. It says domain name, like we start off the same way. It starts off the whole thing, it talks about the HTML path, and that is the same path, of course, that it's supposed to be. But then for domain name, it's a little different. It says http://, but now it doesn't have a real domain. It just has a filler keyword in here in a way, a variable I want called MyDomain. All right. And then because I'm using our automation, which uses this magic ABC123, I'm leaving that alone. But if I want to make my own project folders, I could call this something like my project. Okay. Why am I calling it my domain and not just domain, by the way? This is going to be automated filler in because now when we run that profile creator, it's going to match the fields. This is my domain. Verbatim, my domain equals everywhere on this file where it sees my domain. And this exists in more than one case. If I do a control find this thing, I'll find another one down here. See, it's identical. My domain. There might even be another one. Yep, my domain and my domain. Perfect, isn't it? Because now when I just enter it into this thing in one place, it puts it in all the right places exactly correct, and it knows whether or not to continue using public HTML or not because it's already built into this file correctly. So I started with a good file, a good PFL file, and now I replaced the domain in every case. Wherever it said mowg-samples.com, I did a replace. I said find MOWG-samples.com. I included the .com. And I said replace with my domain, and I do not put a .com. I don't need a dot in my filler words here. I don't want a dot in there. That's just kind of funky. I should stick with letters and numbers. And I did a replace all. WAP, all right? And it replaced every instance. So it was perfect the way it was with MOWG samples. Now I want to make it perfect for everyone else. And remember, don't use one of our MOWG samples ones really anyway, because they do not have public underscore HTML anywhere, right? So don't do that. You know, the ones we have are good. The ones in the HB Geo, no Geo, HB Geo sub, HB no Geo sub. All right, replace it with that. Again, why do I call it my domain? Why don't I just call it domain? Why isn't this thing just simply domain? And here's why. Think about it. This says domain right here inside the tag. I don't want to accidentally overwrite that. This is the end of the tag. I don't want to overwrite that either. Okay? I do not want this to accidentally match anything that already exists on here anywhere. I want it to only be exactly what I want it to be. So I made it very specific. My domain, right? So it has to match the whole thing. It cannot match my domain here. There's no way to do it. It can't match my domain there. Only here, right? Now, what else did I have? I had my username and my password. And that's also in more than one spot on here. So I found my username to log in with, and it's in here somewhere. Again, if you keep reading, you'll find this. And once you get this set up, it's going to be perfect for all your future profiles for all different websites you ever go to upload everything to. So where would it be? Aha, FTP Form username, for example. And it's got my username. All right. And that's just what I did. I took the username that was there already, anywhere it existed, like MOWG Crew at MOWGsamples.com. And again, you wouldn't do it with ours, you do it with your own, where you had a username that looked something like MOWG Crew and that was it. Or maybe with a 13 or something on the end. Okay, some number. But I did this because this is the actual username I needed to change. And everywhere where it exists on the entire file, it exists in more than one place, right? I changed it to my username so that it's nothing like anything that's on the file already. There is no my username. There's FTP form username, but not my username. So I replaced all. Again, replace all because it's in more than one place. You can always replace all whether it's in one place or more than one place. Just replace all. And what else do you think I did? Password, FTP password. Everywhere where it says password, I replaced it with my password. So instead of it being whatever it was, password, I replaced it with my password in every case. Okay? Keep in mind, that only works with the password if you do not have the password encrypted. Okay, that's exactly, and do not try to open this folder because it'll say it's improperly formatted. Why? Why is it improperly formatted? Because my domain does not have .com, .net, .biz, .org at the end of it. Okay, so it's improperly formatted. So don't actually try to open it with MOWG Pro. You're not trying to anyway. You shouldn't have to touch it. Okay, once you get it finished, it should be done. So you start with one that's good. Start with one that you can open, one that does work. Make a copy of it, put it anywhere you want where you're going to be using your own profile generator. It can be some new thing, whatever you want to call it. You stick it in there, paste. And then you might call it something you could just recognize, and I like calling it original. It doesn't matter what you call it. Okay? And then I'm going to take my profile creator, and I'm going to take a copy of that guy. Copy it. Okay? I'm going to stick it in my new, paste. And then here, again, what am I going to do? I'm going to start doctoring it. Open with Notepad and make the changes I want and keep track of it, right? Now, that's awesome. What if you do it for subdomain? Same thing now. There's the subdomain. And again, there's primary.com. So I'm going to make primary.com, Control V, and I'm going to call it like my domain, right? I could even call it my primary, right? You can do that and replace all, my primary and all that kind of thing. Now, and replace everything else. Again, don't have the password encrypted, right? We went over that in the update videos. Whenever you open MOWG Pro, the interface itself, don't have this checkbox on your profile, right? It should not encrypt the password. That's the only way that this thing can work, okay? Let me get back to where I was. Okay. All right. And okay. And again, just if I change the names in here, whatever I call those things, if I call it but like my primary or whatever it is that I change it to, that is what this needs to be said. And again, if you get this, yes, enable it. Enable macros, enable editing. Call this my primary because this is what it's looking for. It's like a big search and replace tool. Get it now? It's going to search and replace. Anything on this file that said my primary, it'll search and replace and fill it in with whatever your website is. Anywhere where it says my username on this file, it's going to fill it in because that's what it's going to look for, exactly this up here. So that's going to be your username, whatever. And remember, like in my case, I got to go all the way out, okay, for this thing, but not in yours usually, okay. Boom. If it hyperlinks, just remove the hyperlink. You know, right click, remove the hyperlink. Okay. Password. Make sure you get anywhere where it says my password in here. Okay. And that's what you're going to put. Whatever it is. Okay. And so there's that, right? Now, I can do this more than once. Okay, now first let me just show you once. Here I have it, right? Let me run the macro. It says select the PFL file path because it's going to build this around whatever I had. So I'm going to hit browse and it's going to open the one in the folder it's sitting in first. It opens locally in its own folder. So I am staring at the right one. I don't have to worry about it being a different one unless I navigate to a different one on purpose. Okay. All right, it's in the right folder. That's the right one. That's this one right here. Boom. And yep, that's it. So I submit. It's done. And I can close it and see what I did. Boom. Okay. There's the one it created based on the original. So it starts with that name, dash, and then whatever it saw the basic domain name to be without any .com, .net, or whatever. So let me open up. And now I got to find it. MOWG HBGO new, HBGO new, and open it. There we go. It says primary.com. I guess that's what I put in. Oh, that's why. I didn't change the name, did I? I still called it. Ah, that's right. I didn't actually make the adjustments to this that I was supposed to make in this case, did I now? Primary.com. I didn't save the changes, did I? Control C, Control H, Control V. Got to make it my primary, right? Replace all. And then where it has, and again, this is good for the repetition, so you just kind of get used to it, right? Here we go. The username, my username. Control C. Bam, my username. Okay, replace all. And then where it has the password, wherever the password is, there it is. So my password, Control C. And that's what it's going to say, right? All right. Now, could I do more? Yes, you can do any number of things on that step file. You can have my file count. Try that one on. My file count. Watch that. My file count. Okay. And you can do this with add-ons, primaries. You can do it with even the public underscore HTML if you wanted something like that. My file count. Okay. Now I did save the changes, so I'm good to go. Let's just make this 2514. Run. Select it. Okay, the original one. Submit. Boom. Now it created a second version with a -1 if it saw the first one. It did not overwrite it. It assumes you want a new one. Because you can do these for like the same website but different projects. So you can do my project folder, right? That's just the point. And so I can open this thing now. And guess what? There it is. It's got my MOWGsamples.com. It's got my MOWG crew of MOWGsamples.com. It's got my password. It's got my file count, 2514. All of it's there. Everything is correct, right? Could I make this a variable, upload or not, true or false? Yes, you can have uh, uh, upload or not, let's say. I don't care. Upload or not, and it can be true or false, right? Exactly. Now, it's okay if it flips it like this. I already tested. This is just sort of, it thinks it's an Excel command, but it does treat it like text properly, so don't worry about that. As long as you call it upload or not in your profile, of course. I mean, that should be clear by now, okay? Can you do this for more than one website at once? Yeah, if I could actually create like a bunch of these, let's say all I wanted to change was the file count in every case. Or I had something like, and again, take a look at this. What if I want to keep typing, but it's the button's in the way? Watch. Right click the button and then just left click the button, like move over here and left click. Now you can move it and just pull it over. Okay, there you go. So in the next one, just make sure you don't miss any columns, right? Keep all the information together. I could do, what was I gonna do? I was gonna do something else. You could do my project, my add-on domain, my add-on folder. You could do auto upload the related files or not. Anything you want to do, but let me just show you what I mean now, and that's this. You could do 100 or 1,000 of these. You could take this down as far as you want to go. So as many websites as you have, you can line all your information up for the same kind of profile. Hit run, hit go, and hit the original that you trust. Submit, and it's done. And guess what? You have them all. Delete the ones you didn't want, you know, and you have these. You can rename them to anything. Rename, you know, domain one, whatever it is for you. First stack, whatever it is you want. Okay, so yeah, you can do it with anything. The whole thing is Notepad, open with Notepad. Anything you can edit. If you wanted to edit ARGE all throughout here, you could do it. Of course, there's no reason why, but you could. If you wanted to edit the public underscore HTML folder, if yours is called like www or home or website or something like that, you could replace it with that. You could even make it editable so that some of these say public underscore HTML while others say www, others say home or website or whatever it is, or web, depending on the websites, right? For each website you're working with. Just keep in mind it's going to follow the same format of whatever it is. So if this is an HB Geo and that's how it was set up, it's going to be HB Geo. It's going to be project. Okay. If it's an HB Geo sub and it's set up for subdomains, okay, and I've just been kind of playing with this thing, but if it's set up for subdomains, then that's the format. You could have my sub folder, things like that. So just play with a copy just to make sure you get it all right. And then once you get it all right and you know it's good, save it somewhere, rename new or something to say good-1 or good-geo, and you have it now. And you can zip it up and send it to other people with simple instructions telling them what they need to fill in, right? So you can take all this stuff out, delete, and you could just include a simple text file with guys, new text file, call it readme, whatever, you know, and you could say like read me first and open it, and it just says, hey, open step one. If it says enable editing or enable macros, click it. Fill in your information exactly underneath what the columns at the top. First, put your domain name without http:// or with, depending on the way you set up the file, right? Then you say, put the login to your HostMonster account. The username, not your domain, but the username that they give you in your confirmation email when you get your HostMonster account or whatever account. It doesn't have to be HostMonster if you know how to doctor these for other websites. Then you say, put in the password to your HostMonster account. And then you could say put in your desired number of files from a minimum to a maximum, from 100 to 1000 or something like that. I mean, you can literally go as crazy as you want with getting this thing perfect. If you wanted to set it up for add-ons, what do you think you need? You need my primary, my username, my password, and they're all the same. They're going to stay the same anyway. But now what do you need? You need like you could say, yeah, add-on domain, and that's going to be the add-on domain. and then add-on folder. All right, that's going to be the add-on folder. Okay, where do those things go? I mean, you guys either know or you don't. You know, I don't need to go through it necessarily, but okay. Let me just show you once so that you can see. Log on. All right. I don't want to use that one because it's not. Well, here, let me use this one. Okay. Here you would go. This is a subdomain, of course, but if it was on an add-on domain, that would be my add-on. It would be like addon.com or net or biz or whatever. Add-on. That's my add-on domain. Keep in mind, add-on domain. Not add-on folder, add-on domain. All right? That's what goes up here. Okay, not with that. It should not be in both places. It's either one or the other. Okay, so for just regular projects on an add-on domain. And then what would the path be? This would be the primary. Okay, so that would be your primary.com slash public underscore HTML slash. That's your add-on folder, mind you. That's the add-on folder. It's not the same as add-on domain now because it does not have .com, .net, .org. Unless with your hosting it will have the same .com, .net, .org, in which case you only need one of these. You don't need both unless you want to do both and just copy and paste. Okay? Because it'll replace in every instance. Then, of course, this should not be here anyway. And then you could say your desired project name. You could actually give that to a guy to, let me right click, left click, and then move. Okay. And I could actually go one more and say desired project name. You know, anything that you want to put into the file and is understandable when seen. And the guy can, and your instructions will be do not include a space, right? You cannot have a space in there. If you wanted to say Oregon Windows, that's wrong because it has a space, right? URLs do not have spaces. Put a dash. That way you know it could be, this guy would have typed in Oregon Windows. So you just tell him no spaces for multiple words. And watch out for strays. Don't include strays, right? That's a mistake. You know, so make a note on your README file. Says, you know, watch out for stray spaces, something like that. And again, if he fills that out and hits run, he created the profile for you. He can attach it to an email and send it to you, and it's done already. You can drag that profile wherever it needs to go and use it now. By the way, did you have to call it original? No, say you want it to be ZZ Auto Create so it's already named the right name. Then, yeah, whoops, let me get to one that I had done, right? Wherever I did it, I forget already. Was it what? No Geo Sub? Yeah, new. I didn't have to call this original anyway. I could have renamed it. And I could have called it like ZZ-Auto Create. And that's awesome because now when it creates these other ones, they're going to be ZZ Auto Create dash MOWG samples, ZZ Auto Create dash industry leaders, ZZ Auto Create dash website marketing solutions, whatever. And that's great. So I know what they're supposed to be. And I can rename them to the right name whenever I'm ready to run it just by taking the extension off, you know, and just making sure it has the right name. Cut it from your incoming folder, wherever you had it, put it in the right place. It goes in the system. And if I right click and hit paste, boom, then it would be the new auto create for me. And so now I can step back and I can hit run and it can go, you know, things like that. All right. So that's how the profile creator works. And so it's really awesome. And you can do it for subdomains on add-on domains, subdomains on primary domains, add-on domains on primary domains, primary domains. You can adjust anything you want and make as many copies as you want. You can come up with your production line and your cut and dry turnkey method, and so people can just fill them out, send them to you, and they're always done already, and they're always correct. The guy's got the information in the right place because this is pretty easy to follow with a README with some notes saying what to put in here just to make sure people know. This is really easy to follow. They don't have to understand how to open this thing, and you don't have to either. They can put their domain that they signed up for and got, their username, their password, the other stuff that you need, run the macro, and send that thing to you, that output profile to you. Okay? And you can do it for yourself anyway in the HB project. That's the natural thing. Anytime you're ready, you know, to change domains, you can just go in here, update, run, save the copy, and then hit this guy to move it to the right place, right? And that's the same with all of them. right now, all these things. They have their own version. This is different because it's HB no geo. It's a different one than HB, well, any of these other ones. They're all different. Every one of them is different. Don't mix and match them. Don't think that they're the same. This is not the same one as that. They're not the same. I only called them original so you always get used to filling out the form and then, whoops, okay, filling out the form and then when you run, you always select original. So they have the same names even though they're really different, okay? All right, more to come. There's your bit about the Profile Creator. I hope you enjoy it. It's actually extremely powerful and very, very cool to have. And it takes a load of work off your shoulders if you're doing mass output, if you're working for many people. Okay, hope you enjoyed it.